Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome to Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I am your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning into SST on Apple Podcasts app, Spotify, and now on YouTube. We got a jam-packed episode today. We got to talk about the Mets and the Yankees on a little bumpy road, one more bumpy than the other. We'll get to it. And then we also have some NBA free agency takes to get off our chest. And then lastly, Andrew will return to do some predictions for Thor, Love, and Thunder. And, talk about the reviews a little bit. We haven't seen it yet, so we're not going to spoil anything, but predictions, have some fun with that. So that's what we got. We got Andrew Calagna here, Mets, Yankees, free agency, Marvel's new Thor, Love, and Thunder. That's the docket right now. But first, Andrew Calagna, what's up, brother?
How's it going? Man, I'm really concerned here. And I feel like a lot of other people concerned are out here, not just about the Yankees and Mets, but like as you said before, the Love and Thunder reviews are not great, my friend. They're not great.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a panic button for the Mets and the Yankees, and perhaps there should be a panic button discussion for Thor, Love, and Thunder. I have thoughts that I'm going to save on that. Yeah, as much as I would love to get right into that. That's at the end of the pod because I have thoughts. And it honestly, here's a segue for you. I think there's something to do with the expectations of people right now that is a little bit extra and a little bit ramped up that makes it hard for good things to be good, for great things to be great without being legendary type of situations. If you're catching my drift, that may be a little bit of a tease for later, but on the Mets and Yankees front, we're going to talk about panic meter. We're going to talk about how worried we are about these two rosters. Let me just go off the cuff here. It's obvious that the Mets panic is a little bit more intensified than the Yankees right now, right? So as a Yankees guy,
Absolutely.
as a baseball lover like yourself, is this even a fair way to intro the topic for the Yankees? Because it is technically one of their worst stretches of the year. However, it's still been pretty damn good. So is this even a fair way to get to this conversation right now?
I think so, because they played the Astros and they were, the game we went to, they went 15 consecutive innings without getting a hit. And then, the game, the Subway Sports Talk went to, which was an amazing game, probably top 5 baseball game I ever went to in my entire life. Able to, two judge walk-offs, be able to squeak 2 out wins, or, they weren't able to, they would score a lot of runs. The offense looked flat otherwise. So against the toughest competition, probably the team that you're going to have to beat to get to the World Series, you come out kind of looking as flat as a team could possibly look. So, the Yankees are still beating teams that they're supposed to beat. They went and they swept the A's afterwards. They're beating the Pirates right now 5-0 after losing 5-2 yesterday. But the panic level is because at this point the Yankees have wrapped up the American League East, so you're kind of looking forward to what's next. So you're going to look at the playoffs and who do you have to beat? We have to beat the Astros, and it was kind of a measuring stick here. And the Astros are very good. And I know Alex said he was actually petrified of facing the Astros in the playoffs. And I can't feel like, as a Yankees fan, you should feel confident in facing the Astros because they've had your number for like 5 years now. That's the dragon you have to slay if you want to get to the World Series.
Yeah, it's tough. And, as a Mets fan, on top of that, being at the Yankee Astros game with you, I saw them way too much recently. I'm done. I do not want to see them anymore. They made it really hard on the Mets in the series in Houston, and then they went to New York to play the Yankees, and then played the Mets in New York right after that. I'm done. I'm over it. Yordan Alvarez is a petrifying man. I don't want to see him hit against my team ever again, even though I'm sure we'll have to. Like, they are a good team. At least they really, really looked like it, and they're one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. But you're 100% right. The way I look at it for the Yankees is you had the panic button out preseason, right? Because a lot of people were not happy with the Cashman offseason. They thought there could have been more to be done. And, it felt like a little bit like you're rolling out the same type of squad. However, after 2 weeks, you very calmly take that panic button and you go put it in its drawer and you remember where you put it and you're like, wow, I don't think I need to see this thing for a while. And it's there, right? That's where you're at right now. It's there, but you don't care about it. You're not even thinking about it. On the Mets front, I think the where we are at with the panic button is that we went back to that drawer and we opened it and looked to make sure it was in there because you panicked that you lost the panic button. Right? That's kind of how I'm feeling right now, right? I'm not taking it out. I'm not putting it on the table. I'm not flipping open the cap like we're in Deal or No Deal. But I went back to the drawer to make sure it's there. Because the Mets thing here is a little bit reminiscent of years past where all of a sudden the offense just isn't getting the job done. And I loved hearing what Francisco Lindor had to say when he went off in his little soliloquy. Yo, Scherzer and DeGrom can't be the saviors. You know why? Because if we score 0 runs, they can't win any games. So unless we score runs, it doesn't matter who's pitching right now. And I just love that mentality because it's taking the blame, it's taking the ownership. And through all the 2 years, well, not even 2 years now, of Lindor, a lot of people have been frustrated. I, for one, am always on board and appreciate who he is and how he's playing right now as well. So that's where I'm at as the Mets. Do you feel similarly? Do you agree? Do you understand why I took a peek in the drawer to make sure it was still there?
Oh, absolutely. The Braves being 2 games behind you now, and again, the Mets aren't playing terribly at the moment. I mean, but the Braves again, they haven't cooled down much, if at all. But like you said, I was going to bring up the Lindor point that he said he took the ownership of it. He took responsibility. Being the one of the leaders of that locker room, saying, "Hey, DeGrom and Scherzer, that's great. That's great that they're coming back, but we have to do our part as well. The pitching, and I've always said that the Mets pitching is going to be fine. And Peterson, the short start tonight notwithstanding, I think he's been great, and Bassett's been what you kind of expected from him. And now Scherzer's back, and DeGrom's on his rehab assignment now, so he should be back probably around the All-Star break in a couple weeks. I can't believe it's the All-Star break already. Like, I can't believe it's July. Like, the season's gone by very, very quick, my friend. So it's an appropriate level of concern right now, and it just the last 2 weeks have kind of reinforced what we kind of talked about last time out of what the team needs. And that team, the Mets, need offense, and they need offense in spades right now. And I think that's going to be the number one trade target going into the deadline.
Yeah, and I looked at it last night after the shutout loss and Scherzer's return. 0 for 8 runners in scoring position, no extra base hits. That's the recipe for being a really bad team. Obviously, it's exaggerated. It's one really bad game where they couldn't get off the board at all. But that's not completely abnormal. It doesn't feel like an anomaly for the Mets to not hit with power on a given night because we know that the power has been coming from 2.5 people more or less this season. Marte has been our best hitter over the past 2 weeks by a long shot. He's been pretty good the entire year with some power, with his extra base hits. McNeil, obviously, the average is still up there. He's still hitting whatever. Pete and Lindor have been the run providers for this team. And the power of the extra base hits and all the stuff we talked about last time we had our chat, Andrew, about OPS and OPS plus and all that stuff, that is an indicator of maybe not what's going on in the exact current moment, but an indicator of who you are overall as a player. Those things are not too super strong for the Mets, right? After those top 2 or 3 guys, they get a little bit more bleak and the run production becomes harder and harder to find. So this isn't shocking. So I think there's probably some Mets fans out there who just heard my little take on the panic button being in the drawer, but I checked on it saying that's not enough. I'm panicking. I am actually worried. I got the button out. We need to make a trade right now. We need to bring up Alvarez, the catcher who just got bumped to AAA. It's time to make something happen. To a fan who has that attitude, what do you say? What do you say with the 50 wins, first team in the NL to get there, Max and DeGrom getting healthy, the offense being what the offense is? Do you tell that person to calm down, or do you think they have a really strong point?
I think you have to calm down a little bit, and I think the worst mistake you can make is bringing up Alvarez before he's ready. And again, he did great in AAA. Development is development. You can't. The worst thing you can do is change someone's development and change the trajectory if they're not ready, and try to put them in a situation where you don't think they might not succeed, and you might actually hurt him in the long run by exposing him to major league pitching when he's not ready for it. And I get that, he's the top prospect, and I expect him to probably, be the starting catcher in 2023, but it's just, it's not now. And maybe if he gets off to a hot start in AAA, but I mean, he just got promoted, a couple days ago. So
yeah, within the
he's got to get some, time to get speed from under him, and build himself up a little bit. And maybe if he has a hard start, maybe you can have that conversation in late August or early September. You can have that conversation, but not now.
Yeah,
Taking that jump is not. That's not advisable in my eyes. You're going to ruin prospect. You have the danger of ruining a prospect on top of getting zero offense from the position. So if you're going to go out and get somebody, you go out and get Contreras from the Cubs, who he's going to be a free agent at the other way. So it's a nice little stopgap. Someone better than James McCann, someone better than Nito. Or get somebody to play third base, or somebody to play in the DH spot. So there's plenty of spots where an offensive upgrade can come from, and I fully expect the Mets to go out and get that upgrade.
Yeah, and as we talk right now, we should definitely mention that they're in extra innings, up 5-3 now in the top 10. Nimmo's up. So the offense a little better today as Nimmo hits one deep to right. I'm doing play-by-play on a podcast. That's terrible. Home run. Wow. Okay, there's some power for the Mets. That's live, not so live podcasting because you're hearing this the day after it happened. Anyways, Nimmo hits a home run there. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Dom Smith is where I was going. So Dom Smith is a guy who comes to mind as like an in-house fix for some of those issues. He's been one of the better hitters for the Mets over the past week since he got the call back up, and he's playing well. Pete Alonso was due to come down to earth, and then just went 4 for 4 or 4 for 5 now in last night's game. So Marte's been on fire. McNeil's still hitting good. There is reason to believe, hey, we need to chill out for a little bit. We had a crazy ebb, we're in a flow, or we had a crazy flow, we're in an ebb, whatever you want to say. And there's reason for us to believe we can get back to a more consistent offense. So I think the Alvarez thing and the trade thing are separate, as you outlined. Bring up Alvarez too soon is a mistake. Sending away a prospect for a guy who can possibly help on a championship run is something that I think they're going to look at very closely. A guy like Steve Cohen doesn't look like the type of guy who wants to sit around and wait for something to happen. He's going to try to make something happen. So they're going to be players in the trade talks here. I don't know if they're going to go for a Contreras. It doesn't seem like that is the move when you have this big catching prospect to give someone up for a 1-year rental. Like, it's a really tough sell, I think. But like Jeff Passan kind of put out in his last piece on ESPN, a guy like Trey Mancini is somebody who I think is a realistic option to grab. My problem is I'm still a Dom Smith believer, Andrew. I still believe in this guy that he can be a hitter in the big leagues when he has consistent at-bats. Am I crazy for saying that? Can I actually say with the right mind that this guy who has shown only 1/4 of a season, because it was the COVID year, of being a really good MLB hitter, that I still have faith in this man?
I think it's clock's about to strike midnight soon there, PD, unfortunately for Dom, at least as a Met. I think kind of a very similar with like Clint Frazier on the Yankees. I think it's at this point where if he's not going to get consistent at bats, that is better off. He was going to be part of a trade package to get who's the Hosmer from the Padres, and Paddock. That trade literally almost went through spring training because it fell through because Paddock's arm was going to fall off, and he eventually needed Tommy John surgery. So I think he's going to have more value to somebody else if he has much value at all. I think he's got more of a trade piece than a long-term piece for the Mets. Unfortunately, I hate to burst your bubble there, sir.
I feel bursted a little bit. That's okay. I get it. I know it's kind of an irrational confidence thing for me there. It's Frank Ntilikina a Jace. When Frank Ntilikina hits one corner 3 and gets a steal in like a 1-minute stretch, I'm like, see, Dom Smith has like 4 hits in like 2 games. I'm like, there it is. That's my guy. I told y'all. But then he like doesn't do well for 2 weeks straight. It's a little tough sell. I get it.
It's Clint Frazier, Gary Sanchez-itis, my friend. It's a tough disease to kick, and we have a fun run every year to try to beat this horrendous disease. And I have faith in you that you'll be able to kick it yourself. So
yeah,
it's tough.
And the latest victim to this is Joey Gallo. I think the clock has it's so annoying because the clock has struck midnight for so many Yankee fans. But today, when we choose to do this podcast, he hits a home run. And when he hits a home run, it always feels like he's great for that moment in time. So let's segue over to the Yankees here for a second. there's no real panic because of how well they're playing and how much of a lead they've given themselves. But there's still room to improve. Like you've been a little more reasonable on this front than most.
Mm.
Is it time to rip the Gallo Band-Aid off? Is it still ridiculous? You're shaking your head, yes, but hear me out for a second. Are you going to go for a big name? Are the Yankees going to make a move for a real needle mover here? Or are they going to try to get a marginal guy who's just going to be a replacement level better than Gallo?
See, I feel like they'll go out and get another hitter because obviously that's what the team needs. And then when you're this good, you can't. I don't think marginal upgrades are. You have to stop at that, especially when you have those. You given Joey Gallo a year's worth of time to get acclimated to New York, to be able to put together and be again. No one was asking Joey Gallo to be a 280 hitter and to hit 75 home runs. People were just asking him to just be Joey Gallo, be a 215 hitter, get on base a ton, and hit a bunch of home runs. But he hasn't. He has 9 home runs, 10 home runs now with that home run. And he's batting 167. Just as you think he's about to come out of his slump, he goes like 0 for 25 and is just striking out and just looking non-competitive and just looking like so defeated after a bad at bat. He's like, just get me fucking out of here, man. And I think Joey Gallo's time as a Yankee is going to be done. I feel like he's going to go to like San Diego or a team that willing to say, okay, get this guy in New York and he'll be, maybe more relaxed in who he wants to, the player he was. So I feel like San Diego is going to be a big spot for him. And I know AJ Preller, the GM of San Diego, drafted him originally and he really likes him. So I feel like that's a good destination. And as far as someone who the Yankees will probably go out and get, I expect maybe someone like Andrew Benintendi or Ian Happ of the Cubs, someone like that to be able to come in. Maybe both. Why not both at this point and make Aaron Hicks a true fourth outfielder?
Right.
Because at this point, again, you have such a great team and you've built up such a lead that you have to address the needs in the room. And you can't just kind of sit back and hope guys bounce back. You've given them enough time to do that. Whether or not they have the prospect capital, and then whether or not Hal Steinbrenner wants to go over the $270 million luxury tax threshold, because right now they're at like 262, and whether or not they're going to make similar trades that they made with Rizzo and Gallo last year, where they're giving up more prospects and then having the other teams eat all the money. Maybe they'll make more deals like that, but it's soon to be seen. But they have to make a major move. I feel like at this point, because the offense isn't going to be good enough in the postseason, where we're up against the best pitching, and if Judge and Stanton aren't carrying the lineup, there's not a lot of components there to make you confident saying these guys will get hits when we need them to. The bottom third of the lineup is not great. Josh Donaldson, despite getting the home run tonight, has been pretty disappointing. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is not a above average hitter whatsoever. Neither is Jose Trevino had a nice first half, and he'll probably make the All-Star game as a backup, but he's not a guy I feel like that can carry a lineup or be able to, he might have the clutch hit component to him, but he's not a guy where you can feel like he's gonna be able to, I don't know, carry a team or be able to get a hit when you really, really need him to.
Yeah, for the numbers that he's putting up for a catcher are fantastic to have. But he's not batting 3, 4, 5 for you, and you're expecting him to do a whole lot all the time, right? But no, 100% on all of your points there. I think they're very poignant. Does that mean on time? That was not the right word to say.
No, poignant is poignant. You use that correctly.
Poignant doesn't mean on time, or does it just generally on point?
That means like poignant is evoking a keen sense of sadness or regret.
Oh,
so
that doesn't seem right. All right, now I'm regretting that I brought this up. Whatever, I'm moving on. Matt Carpenter. And as I'll say that, I will twirl my little mustache here in honor of Matt Carpenter. He's another guy here who now fans are clamoring for to get in the lineup every single day. He's been in the lineup a lot. He's been your best hitter over the last 2 weeks, which is a little crazy to say out loud, but it's true. So it's obvious to see what the Yankees have as issues. And I think that's one of the best things you can have is a really clear problem, something that is solvable and you know what it is, right? When it's like somebody's injured and you're kind of waiting for him to come back, oh, like he'll be back to his normal self in a little while, and then he never makes it back, right? Like that's the limbo that you don't want to be in. That's the limbo the Mets pitching staff was kind of in. Even though they've been solid enough, it's really the offense that's the real struggle. But for the Yankees, it's just so clear the weak points, and you know what you're getting from IKF, so you're not really going to complain about him. Trevino, same concept, but those other points are such upgrade opportunities that you have to go for it because championship windows is something we talk about all the time. And I think the biggest mistake that people make in media, fans alike, is expecting this window to be more open than it is. It's a perfect example from that first year the Yankees made the conference finals, the ALCS. Everyone's like, oh, well, it's okay. That was way ahead of schedule. They have all these years ahead. Well, those next 3 years didn't go how everyone expected them to. And now, granted, the window's open back up, probably open now more than it ever was. But if they just sat on their laurels, which some people thought they did a little bit, and just said, oh, we made it to the ALCS, we're fine. We're going to grow. We're going to make the championship in 1 or 2 years. Then the window closes, So it's a perfect opportunity where the Yankees know exactly what their weakness is right now, and they have opportunities to make an upgrade.
Absolutely. And you're gonna just to go back to the poignancy thing. It could also be something that is deeply touching. Brings forth strong emotion, like sympathy.
Let me just confirm that you didn't listen to anything I just said, and you were researching what the word poignant means.
No, I can multitask, my friend. I'm a dad. I can do 2 things at once.
Touche.
But no, I totally agree. And again, going into tonight where I saw that like Matt Carpenter was batting third in the lineup, and I'm just like, we really reached that point where Matt Carpenter is batting third, and it's that's who we got in there. That's our best option at the moment. That screams to me that like, yeah. And great Matt Carpenter, you kind of need those guys where you expect you kind of get unexpected production out of some guys, and that's what most championship teams have. But those guys don't bat third.
No.
Even against like the Pirates. That's something you don't see or don't really kind of want.
It's kind of the one big differentiation for baseball against basketball and football, for example, or even hockey to a lesser extent because of the more structured lines that they have really in place. But in basketball and football, you have the true ability of like a heat check guy. He's not your number 1 or number 2 option. But if you see it on the right night and you catch it in motion, it's like, yo, we can ride this guy for a quarter. Oh, we can target this guy 9 times today. He has it. In baseball, it's much more progressive over time, and you can't really mess things up too much in the lineup structure because that's the whole entire game. It's in the whole entire day. And instead of basketball and football, you obviously just go in and out. Like Carpenter in the 3 holes, crazy. It makes sense right now, but it's crazy. And I understand your point. It's something that, like, as a Mets fan who watched them first over the Yankees, I've only really seen that peripherally, and then on Twitter and occasionally when I caught them the past week or 2. Like, he's so important to the entire team though right now. And is that a scary sign though that a team that's been this good is leaning on a guy who literally was picked up off the fucking scrap heap to be aggressive? I don't know why I got so aggressive on that statement. Yeah.
And what's kind of crazy too is that like you look at you look at the numbers and he's like, okay, his on base percentage is over like 400, and he's doing this, that, and the other. But it's just like it's been, and how many plate appearances? It's been 65 plate appearances. That's nothing. And if a regular player gets 600 plate appearances, and if you want to equate that to like a 9-inning game, That's like saying you won the game in the first inning. That's 10, that's like less than 10% of like a player's total at bats for like a season. So, you want to ride the hot hand, and yeah, he's technically slugging 848, which is bonkers, but that's not Matt Carpenter didn't turn to Barry Bonds overnight. That's not how this works. That's not how baseball works. Unfortunately, yeah, maybe be Barry Bonds. He was Barry Bonds for that short time period, but the more you play him, the more he's going to get exposed. The more, he's going to turn back into the guy that was, batting AAA for the Texas Rangers. So,
And
again, it just fortifies that the Yankees need more offensive help, much like the Mets do.
yeah, and just to wrap this thing up so we can get on to some of our other stuff here. Pitching front, you're still feeling lovely about this pitching staff overall, top to bottom. Any worries, any holes?
I think I said this last time too, that I think workload has become more of a concern, especially with Nestor Cortez. Again, his season, his career high innings pitched in a year is 110, 115 innings. And Severino, who was coming back off of Tommy John surgery, again, who's pitched like 19 innings since like 2019. So, like, are you really expecting him to pitch 150 innings this year? I don't know. So maybe getting another starter as well to try to lighten the load. Maybe you don't have to go out and get Luis Castillo to be the number 2 guy. I feel like that's not, the Yankees have been linked to Castillo forever, but I feel like they'll go out and get someone marginal that they'll be able to eat innings, maybe be able to kind of fix him like they fix all the other pitchers, and identify some of that. I feel like they're not going to get anybody splashy pitching wise if they pick up another reliever or another starter. But um, the flashiness I feel like is going to be on the offensive side.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's where they need it more. Their pitching staff is off the charts, and if you look at their starting 5 here, it's 93 innings for Cole, 90 Montgomery, 89 Tyone. That doesn't count. He pitched last night, right? The game that's still going on. Was that 2 nights ago?
No, Severino's pitching tonight. So Tyone's innings.
With the stats I'm looking at, Tyone's at 89, Cortez 85, Severino after tonight 87, 88, 89, something like that. That's incredible. That's off the charts that they've been this healthy, and with Nestor Cortez in particular, but really the entire pitching staff, it started off as like like Nestor's not going to be this good, blah, 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 right? Everyone heard that, and then it was like, oh wait, no, he's still really good. 90 innings into his season, and now it's starting to catch up to him a little bit, but he's still battling. He's still doing Nestor stuff. He's still being fine.
Yeah. No one was expecting him to be an under 2 ERA pitcher. And I think we talked about this when he was an under like 2 ERA pitcher, that like he talk about at the end of the year, he'll probably be in the mid 3s, upper 3s in terms of ERA. So I feel like he still has a little more regression to go. But he's still a very good pitcher, still someone I expect to be one of the starters come playoff time. But again, I really feel like the Yankees at this point really need another innings eater, someone that they could just slot in. Someone better than JP Sears to be able to give guys a rest and, absorb some more innings, in the rotation, just to lighten the workload for those other guys so they can be a little more fresh come October.
Yeah. And it has a good setup for y'all to do exactly that. So, all right, let's wrap up this baseball conversation. Any last words here on the Mets or the Yankees, on any thoughts in general? We're getting closer to All-Star game. I think our initial predictions from last episode are still holding up pretty good. Alonso's going to make it. Lindor should make it. McNeil should make it. But, you never know. He's probably a little bit tougher of a sell probably. And then on the Yankees front, obviously Judge. And then, Nestor, Cole probably make it. And who else?
Clay Holmes.
Clay Holmes. Oh, my God. How do you forget about that moose of a man? Seeing him in person, by the way, last note here. Wow, I was blown away watching him in person. I've never seen him in person, and we were pretty close. Thank you, Andrew and CBS, for the seats. I wish they were Subway Sports Talk seats, but we're not there yet.
Nope, we'll get there.
Blown away by Clay Holmes. Blown away.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal pitcher. And again, if Nestor Cortez didn't steal all the thunder, Clay Holmes would be the story of baseball for the year right now. And just one other last note on the Yankees. I think that, Aroldis Chapman coming back, it's been rough. I think the first time ever in his career that he's walked like 3 guys, all 3 batters in like back-to-back appearances. So like clearly something's still wrong with him. And something he's got 15 strikeouts and 13 walks in 15 innings. Like he's clearly the worst version of himself, and I don't trust him in any kind of high leverage spot. So I don't think he's going to get dealt, because I feel like if, the off chance that he does able to turn around and be better, that's a valuable weapon out of the pen that the Yankees will certainly need come playoff time. But I don't trust him at all in any kind of high leverage spot. And I hope that the Yankees feel the same way.
Yeah, I think every Yankee fan feels the same way, and that's very safe to say. People are very frustrated and fed up with some Chapman stuff here. So we'll see if they send him back to the IL and try to get him right and, figure it out. So we'll see what happens. But Andrew, you'll be back in a little while to talk Marvel and Thor: Love and Thunder predictions and review reactions, not movie reactions. But in the meantime, I'm going to talk NBA free agency and give you some of my best takes from all that moving and shaking throughout the NBA. So Andrew, will talk to you in a few.
See you.